A large part of the city was destroyed in the air raids on Cologne in World War II. These images from the American Army shows a panning shot from the south of the city over the destroyed city. In this film, we want to shed light on what happened to the huge amounts of rubble. According to estimates, around 30 million cubic meters of rubble were left. 78% of the city area was destroyed, and in the old town within the rings, it was as much as 92%. To illustrate what this means, we have shown this here in the city center. The amount corresponds to a cube with an edge length of 310 meters. The cube would therefore be around twice the height of Cologne Cathedral. The removal of this rubble therefore took a long time, namely until the 1960s. There are some hills in Cologne that you might think are natural elevations, especially since they are also integrated into green spaces. In fact, apart from small differences in height, Cologne was very flat in the center before the war. Everyone can now guess the origin of these hills or mountains, as the people of Cologne also call them. They are former rubble mountains, where the rubble of the war was collected in undeveloped areas of the city. In this scene from Weltim film from 1949, students were shown removing rubble from the Goetzenich, a historical hall. Around 1.5 million bombs are said to have been dropped on Cologne during World War II. The major air raids on Cologne began with the 1,000 bomber raid on the night of May 30th to 31, 1942. The last major air raid took place on March 2nd, 1945, on Cologne's Old Town. Four days later, US troops took Cologne on the left bank of the Rhine, and the air raids ended. Cologne was bombed from the air a total of 262 times, more often and more intensively than almost any other German city. In total, the bombing raids are said to have claimed around 20,000 lives. The mountains of rubble were later renaturalized into parks and forests. To this day, an unexploded bomb is found in the city of Cologne approximately every 2 weeks. In 2022, there were 30, and in 2023, there will still be 21. Experts agree that it will never be possible to fund all of the unexploded bombs. In this picture, you can see the banks of the Rhine at the destroyed Mülheim Bridge and the densely scattered craters along the bank. The city of Cologne seen from the air. Today, there are a total of 11 rubble mountains or hills, which consist of war rubble inside. The Herkulesberg, the Aachener Berg, the Pilzberg in Beethoven Park, the Efferener Berg, the Wingsterberg, the Deutzer Rheinpark, the Rubble Mountain in the outer green belt at Nordpark, the Vogelsang Hill, embankments at the rail triangle Nippers. One of the most central rubble mountains is also the largest and highest, the Herkulesberg. It is located northwest of the Media Park and at the end of the A57 motorway. It covers an area of 130,000 square meters and is around 25 meters high, which is about the same as an 8-story skyscraper. This is already an outstanding height compared to most of the buildings in the Media Park. During its construction, the Media Park was connected to the Herkulesberg by a bridge so that people could cross the Cologne railway ring while walking. The mountain is nicknamed Mont Clamott. Today, the term Klamotten is used in German for clothes or other belongings. Originally, however, it was used colloquially for broken bricks and walls, and after the war, also for rubble. Even though the hill is now heavily wooded, there are good views towards Nippes, the Deutsche Bahn railway tracks, and the city centre as far as the cathedral. Also relatively centrally located, 1.5 kilometers south, is the Aachener Berg on the Aachener Weiher. In the Old Town alone, 11.5 million cubic meters of rubble had accumulated. Of course, they didn't want to have to transport it too far away. In other cities, some of the rubble was processed into new building materials, but this was a laborious process. In Cologne, this hardly caught on, because due to the geological structure of the Cologne Bay, there was enough sand and gravel of the best quality and in large quantities, making it a cheaper building material than rubble products. Kurt Schönbohm, garden architect and former head of the Parks Department in Cologne, explained in his 1988 book Stadtspuren, the rubble of Cologne's Old Town is extremely diverse in terms of the building materials used. Cologne is an old city and contains large amounts of clay and lime, fine rubble, and easily decomposable soil-forming components. It therefore represents a much richer and more nutritious subsoil than poor industrial or rock dumps. The rubble mountains were therefore only covered with a thin layer of soil where lawns were later laid, partly due to a lack of soil. The consequence of this was that 95% of the area was planted directly in the rubble without any soil being added. The main consideration was that pioneer trees, such as blackberries and birches, would ensure the formation of a layer of soil. Here you can also see a cross-section of the Aachener Berg, from the planning period of the architect Rudolf Schwarz, who shaped the reconstruction of war-torn Cologne after 1945. What was already visible in the cross-section is clearly visible here in the map, with contour lines for the entire area. 2 hills were built up, which were connected by a saddle. The hill facing the railway tracks is a good 65 meters above sea level and thus about 17 meters above the pond bank. Due to the adjacent university, today's park is very popular with the student scene, and in summer it is popular for evening meetings or at weekends. Let's now turn further south to Beethoven Park. This is located in Sulz, on Berenrather Street corner, Militaring. Here too, two hills were built that are connected by a saddle. They are almost the same height, although the southwestern one is a little smaller in volume. Here too, the structure can be clearly seen on the map with contour lines. On the northern hill, the Pilzberg, as it is now known, a lawn was created as a slope, which is used as a toboggan run in the rare winters when there is snow in Cologne. With a height difference of around 19 meters, this is quite impressive. Just 800 meters further southwest, the Escher and Rubble Mountains follow. The largest is at the A4 motorway exit on Luxemburger Street, next to the city train line 18 to Hürth. It is now completely wooded. This rubble mountain also has steep slopes downhill in places. Sometimes trees fall over in storms, and you can get a glimpse of the roots. And then you can even see the rubble in the tree's roots, and thus see that it is a mountain of rubble. But the destruction of Cologne was also great on the right bank of the Rhine, and so there was a need for rubble disposal there too. Here, the so-called Vingsterberg was built up, which was mainly made of lime rubble on an existing natural elevation, the Großer Marberg. This Prussian map shows the area around 1893. The street level is about 45 meters above sea level. The Großer Marberg is just over 50 meters. Today, the Vingsterberg is around 63 meters. It was planted in 1958. Another area for rubble disposal was the Deutzer Rheinpark. The park was created in 1913 to mark the upcoming 25th anniversary of Kaiser Wilhelm's throne, based on a design by Cologne garden director Fritz Enke. After the war, it was initially used for the easy and close disposal of rubble from Deutz. In 1953, Cologne was the third city to be awarded the contract to host a federal garden show. "Flowers bloom on the Rhine" was the slogan when the garden show opened in April 1957. The splendor of 2.5 million plants covered the rubble, which had been modeled under the direction of the city's gardening director, Kurt Schönbaum, into a dune-like, gently curved chain of hills with soft contours and a dike. This was done on a 2.3-kilometer-long strip between the Cologne Trade Fair and the Mülheim Harbor. Bulldozers were used to move the haphazardly dumped rubble to the north and east so that the landscape rose slightly from the bank. Hiding the unattractive views of the harbor, railway, and surrounding industry. Finally, let's look at two rubble mounds, again on the left bank of the Rhine. The northernmost rubble mound is in the outer green belt, in the triangle between the Militaringstraße and Neusser Landstraße. Today, it is completely forested with beech trees and has a height of around 18 meters, as can be seen here on the map, with contour lines. Last but not least, the Rubble Hills in Dryhugel Park, or the Vogelsang Hill, as it is also called. This small park is also used as a local recreation area today. The slopes of the Rubble Hills now serve as a wild meadow for insects. And from above, you have a beautiful view of the park. We hope you enjoyed this film, and if you want, you can leave a thumbs up or subscribe to our channel.